Wow.
That was some pretty dramatic music there.
It certainly was.
Huh?
You deserve it, Mr. President.
Nice job.
Travels with his own timpanis. You look great.
I feel good.
How much do you weigh?
You know, about 180.
The 180 looks good on you.
Thank you.
Because that's just about where I am, and I don't look so good at 180.
You know, you look sharp.
You haven't seen me naked.
We're going to keep it that way. Yes.
That's fair enough. All right, I like that. We'll keep it that way.
But before we get started, let me see Kitty. There you go. All right. I think you made the right choice having him here, and we'll sit him here.
Oh, no, get him out of there. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. Because I wanted to know, before we get started, if you would like to say something to the empty chair.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm talking about. How do you feel your convention went?
Well, it was terrific, except, as usual, people always realize how much better Michelle is than me. And then, so then I have to go through the whole week, people saying, boy, your wife, she was really great, and, you know, you were okay.
You know,
you say, yeah, welcome to my life.
She has, she's been here many times, and I don't need to tell you this, but gosh, very smart and easy to talk to and very friendly. I feel very good when I'm with her.
She is a, look, I'm biased, obviously, but she's a wonderful person, and she's a genuine person. Yeah. So you never talk to her. I never see her in different settings, and somehow she's different with different people. She's the same.
Is it close to 20 years?
Woman.
Is that what we're talking
20
about?
20 years next. Hold on. I'm just trying to figure out what date today is. My anniversary is on October 3rd, and it will be 20 years. Although I want to point out that our first anniversary, she's the one who forgot.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was like Wednesday night, and I said, so honey, what do you want to do this weekend? You know, what do you want to do on Friday? And she said, what's on Friday? I said, honey, we've been married a year. It had just completely. 1 year
in, and it slips her mind.
It slipped her mind.
Oh, wow.
Which, yeah.
Now, here
that's
are
a little worrisome.
Some photos. You tell us what we're looking at, Mr. President.
Well, this is Malia and Sasha and me backstage right before we went out, right before I went out to speak to the Democratic Convention in Charlotte. And you know, it was sort of an enclosed space, and Malia and Sasha explained to me that this is a lot like in the Hannah Montana movie, where Hannah's about to go out, and Billy Ray says, you know, go get him, baby, and they reenacted the entire thing. So that was what I got right before I went out.
There you go.
So.
Now I don't feel so bad about the cat. But when I saw you and your family, I was taken by how grown up the girls look.
Yeah.
Does that kill you?
It worries me, but they're surrounded by men with guns.
I think that's every father's dream for girls.
It is a good deal.
Now, I watched the Republican convention, and I don't know whether you watched it. I don't know. Did you watch it?
You know, I didn't watch it, I got to admit. Yeah. I understand they talked about me a lot.
Yeah. but now, here's what I found troubling, and I want you to help me through this. Yeah. They had the clock, the debt countdown clock, and I mean, this thing is going like crazy. Right. And it's several $1 trillion. Right. Now, what is that?
Well, here's what happened. You know, we had a surplus when Bill Clinton was president.
That means extra money.
Extra money. It was projected to continue to be a surplus. We decided to launch 2 wars on a credit card. We cut taxes twice without finding offsetting costs for it or ways to pay for it. A prescription drug plan, and then we had a massive recession. And so when I walked into office, we had a $1 trillion deficit. Debt had mounted, and then we had to take a bunch of emergency measures. That cost money, saving the auto industry, making sure that the financial system got back on track. And so now what we've got to do is we've got to pare down that deficit, get that debt under control. And I think the only way we've ever been able to do that effectively is when you do it in a balanced way. So you cut out spending you don't need. There are programs that don't work, and I tell my Democratic friends all the time, if you're going to be in favor of helping the American people, you can't just assume that every government program is working the way it should. It can work better. But what is also true is that we're going to need to ask folks like you and me to do a little bit more. And if you and I are paying the same tax rates we did under Bill Clinton, then that helps to close the deficit. And if we do those two things, then we can manage very effectively and get our books in order.
Now, do you remember what that number was? Well, was it 10 trillion? Was it that?
I don't remember what the number was precisely.
Right. But see, now, if this is me and I got the credit card guy calling me every day, I start to get scared. I mean, as Americans, should we be scared that we owe that kind of money? Who do we owe that money to?
Well, a lot of it we owe to ourselves, right? Because if you invest in a treasury bill or something like that, then essentially you're loaning the government money. In fact, the majority of it is held by folks who live here. But we don't have to worry about it short term. Right now, interest rates are low because people still consider the United States the safest and greatest country on earth, rightfully so. But it is a problem long term and even medium term. And so we're going to have to take care of this debt and this deficit, but we've got to do it in a balanced way. And what part of what the argument's going to be about during the course of this campaign is I don't want to balance it solely on the backs of middle-class families. I don't want to gut our investments in education or turn the Medicare program into a voucher just to pay for tax cuts for you and me. I think it's important for everybody to do their fair share to start bringing it down. And in fact, we can do it in a pretty responsible way, but it's going to require a little give on everybody's part.
And is it, with the current, and my impression of Congress and the Senate, that there's no cooperation there. Is that a pedestrian assumption that is meaningful?
You know, right now, Congress is gridlocked, and it's very difficult to get things done, partly because you've got two very different visions of the country right now in terms of where we're going. When it comes to reducing our debt or our deficit, the view of the Republicans is that we will not increase taxes one single dime on anybody, especially the wealthy. And the Democrats' view is that we're prepared to make some cuts, but we've also got to ask folks who've done best over the last decade to do a little bit more. Until you kind of get everybody in the same place where you recognize all of us have to give a little bit, it's going to be hard to move things forward.
And is your reelection pivotal in this? If you're reelected, they realize, oh, he's not going anywhere. We got to play ball now.
I think it's helpful. When I came into office back in 2009, several of the leaders on the Republican side in Congress said their number one priority was making me a one-term president. Right. After the election, that doesn't make sense as a goal because I'll be in my second term.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that they recognize what the American people are really looking for is everybody focused on how do we get the economy moving, how do we put people back to work, how do we make sure that middle-class families are doing well and that there are ladders for folks who aren't yet in the middle class. If they work hard, they can succeed. And what's interesting is when you travel around the country, though, Dave, the gridlock you see in Washington is not, it doesn't exist out in neighborhoods and cities and towns all across the country. You talk to most folks. If I go to a Malia's or Sasha's soccer game, and I'm standing there with a bunch of parents, I don't know whether they're Democrat or Republican. And most of them have the same concerns, and most of them have the same values, and they're focused on making sure their kids get a great education and making sure that we're still investing in roads and bridges and medical research.
So if those people that you meet on these outings and that I would meet on these outings, if they truly feel that way, and I believe you that they do, then they're being misrepresented by the people in Congress. Well,
what I will say is this, that the American people are a lot more thoughtful, decent, and full of common sense than we've seen out of Washington over the last several years. And my hope is that people start putting politics aside. You can't put it aside completely. These folks are competing in some cases in very honest ways, sincere ways about differences in the direction of the country. But what you can't do is to think about the election all the time.
Right.
There have to be moments where you focus on
daily life.
What's going to be good for the American people. And in fairness, even with the gridlock, we've gotten a lot done since the Republicans took the House of Representatives. We've cut taxes for middle-class families. We've opened up new markets for U.S. goods around the world. We've made some significant changes, some significant progress, but we've got a lot more work to do.
Do you feel personally responsible that the job growth is not where you had hoped it would be?
Well, I feel responsible for everything. That's part of the job of being president. And when I came into office, the month I was sworn in, we lost 800,000 jobs. We've now had 30 months of consecutive job growth, and we've created about 4.5 million jobs, which is a lot faster than the previous 8 years. But we've got a long way to go because we had this huge hole. We lost 9 million jobs during that Great Recession. And that was a big hole to fill. So even though we're creating jobs, we've created manufacturing jobs at the fastest pace since the 1990s, we've still got this hole, and there's still a lot of folks out there that are hurting, which is why what I tried to express during the convention was my focus is how do we get a strong, vibrant economy? What does that require? And I laid out a plan to make sure that we're not giving tax breaks to companies that are shipping jobs overseas, but giving tax breaks to companies that are investing here in the U.S., that we're continuing to improve our education system and making college more affordable, that we're expanding our energy, including alternative energy and clean energy as a way of creating jobs all across the country, but also making sure that we're independent from foreign oil, and that we reduce our deficit in a sensible way. And if we do those things and also put folks back to work using some of the money we're saving as we end the war in Iraq to rebuild our roads and our bridges, our schools, there's no reason why over the next 4 years we can't drastically bring down the unemployment rate and get moving again. But it only happens if middle-class families and those who are striving to work to get into the middle class, if they've got a shot. Mm-hmm. You know, what I always explain to people is if a nurse, a firefighter, a construction worker, a receptionist, if they've got a little money in their pocket, then they spend it on a computer for their kid or replacing the 10-year-old car. And that means business has more customers. And that means businesses have more profits, they hire more workers, and you get into a virtuous cycle. We grow the economy from the middle out. That's always been our history.
Before you leave here tonight, I need to have somebody, because this is the American way, I need to have somebody to blame. Who? I want to be able to focus this problem and level blame at someone.
Well, here's the deal. There's more than enough blame to spread around, because these problems have been around for a decade or more. But everybody's got responsibilities. And I think that the key for us moving forward is making sure that everybody says, we're going to do our part, and if we do, and everybody's getting a fair shot, everybody's doing their fair share, everybody's playing by the same rules, then we've still got the ingredients that make us the envy of the world. Best workers, best businesses, best scientists, best researchers. We've got all the qualities we need to make this 21st century, the American century, just like the 20th. But it's going to require us making smart choices right now, and the big choice that everybody's going to have to make is right now which direction we go in the next 4 years. That's what this election's all about.
Can I blame Biden?
No,
Would that be all right?
I've tried that, but I love Joe, so I think that's a bad idea.
I love Joe as well.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about your buddy, Governor Romney. We'll be right back with President Barack Obama.